This edition of Checks and Balances TV is brought to you by American Equity Investment Life Insurance Company. Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Checks and Balances TV. Today's program is entitled Running on Empty: Social Security's Deficit and the Impact of Your Future Benefits. So let's see how today's news may impact your financial future. The Social Security Act was signed into law 76 years ago this week by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. However, no one is celebrating its anniversary in Washington. That's because last year, the cost of Social Security exceeded the program's income tax revenue for the first time since 1983, running at a deficit of nearly $49 billion. This year's deficit is projected to be $46 billion, and under current estimates, the program will continue to run at a permanent deficit until all funds are exhausted in 2036. Okay, so what's really going on here? Let's check the facts using our checks and balances process. In 2010, Social Security began paying more in benefits than it takes in through tax revenue. According to the summary of the 2011 annual reports from the Social Security and Medicare Boards of Trustees, the projected deficit is $46 billion this year, up from earlier projections. And even though Social Security can technically cash in special issue government bonds from the general fund of the Treasury, the money to repay those bonds must come from the government through tax collections. By 2036, trust fund assets are expected to be completely exhausted. If the program is not restructured beginning in 2036, Social Security will not be able to pay 100% of promised benefits and will rely solely on tax income to pay out roughly 75% of what was originally expected through 2085. FDR's goal for Social Security under the New Deal in 1935 was to create a social insurance program that provides Americans with a guaranteed income in retirement. It also set up a system of unemployment benefits, as well as providing income for disabled Americans. Funding for Social Security comes from the Federal Insurance Contributions Act tax, also known as FICA, which was established by FDR as a part of the New Deal and collected through an employer's payroll accounting process. The FICA collected tax is paid into the Federal Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund, also referred to as the Social Security Trust Fund. If the amount contributed into the fund is greater than the amount needed to pay out benefits, the excess is invested in U.S. government bonds and used for deficit spending. The U.S. Treasury Department exchanges securities for these surplus funds, which can be redeemed at a later time if Social Security runs at a deficit. Well, Social Security had built up a surplus of $2.5 trillion in the 1980s, but much of that money has since been borrowed by the federal government. Okay, so now that we've checked the facts, let's balance this news using our checks and balances process to determine what action you should take today. Social Security is the largest government-funded program in the world and the biggest expenditure in the federal budget, making it an easy target for proposed budget cuts by Congress, especially during the recent debt reduction talks. With nearly 21% of the budget spent on Social Security, it's no surprise why many lawmakers are considering increasing payroll taxes and raising the retirement age. However, Social Security is not the cause for America's debt problems. Years of poor money management by the government is to blame, including the evaporation of the $2.5 trillion surplus which Social Security maintained in the 1980s. The biggest problem with Social Security is the fact that it will soon be running at a projected deficit of $547 billion from 2012 to 2021, according to the Congressional Budget Office, or CBO. In reality, though, the U.S. Treasury is the culprit who put Social Security into this predicament by borrowing the excess revenues to pay for other less funded government programs or to reduce the national deficit. Making cuts in Social Security is not really solving the problem. because the government will still need to pay back what it borrowed from the fund, at least eventually. Okay, so what's the bottom line here? The current Social Security system is clearly broken and needs a major overhaul. Of course, many Americans could argue that the economy needs more help first. However, Social Security remains a major component of the current budget, accounting for nearly a quarter of federal spending. Not to mention that 78 million baby boomers will be tapping into this program over the next 20 years. If you were born before 1970, as it currently stands, Social Security will technically be waiting for you when you retire. For our younger workers, although they must continue paying into the system, that money will be going to today's retirees and not to fund their own retirement in the future. Today's younger workers will rely on their children to pay into the system for their benefits. Perhaps if our government officials hadn't used the Social Security surplus as a slush fund, in other words, exchanging dollars for IOUs, things may have been very different today. Congress must now, though, take action and make critically important changes to this program without hurting American seniors who depend on Social Security for the majority of their retirement income. This segment of CBTV is brought to you by American Equity Investment Life Insurance Company. And now for Matt's weekly financial tip, tool, or technique. There is a growing fear that Social Security benefits will run out in the near future due to our country's overwhelming debt, prompting many Americans to consider tapping into their benefits early. However, if you can, you should wait until you are at full retirement age to maximize your benefits. Keep in mind, once you begin receiving Social Security benefits, there is no turning back. You could be earning 25 to 30% less if you start taking benefits at age 62 rather than waiting until you reach your full or normal retirement age, which is between 65 and 67, depending on the year you were born. So here are my 4 recommendations to help you determine the best time to retire and take your Social Security benefits. Number 1, use online calculators. Free online calculators offered by groups like AARP or Social Security Solutions can run the numbers for you and help you figure out your ideal retirement age. The calculator will ask you a series of questions and estimate how much your monthly benefit will be. Providing information like your marital status and annual income is all it takes to generate a personalized report. Recommendation number 2, take the earnings test. You might have thought about taking Social Security benefits at age 62 while continuing to work to make ends meet. You may want to think that over again, because the federal government could suspend some of your benefits temporarily if you're making more than the 2011 exemption amount of $14,160 a year. You see, here's what happens. For every $2 you earn over this limit, $1 of benefits will be taken from you. The good news, though, is this only applies to people who have not yet attained their NRA or normal retirement age. Number 3 is read the Social Security Claiming Guide. Written by students at Boston College as a part of the Financial Security Project, this book details everything pre-retirees need to know before deciding when to claim their benefits. It includes a frequently asked questions section in the final chapter, detailing the options between working and claiming benefits, risks to consider, and special rules for government workers. You can download the guide for free at Boston College's Center for Retirement Research website. And number 4 is speak with a good financial advisor. In this day and age of new technology and easy access to information, there is still no substitute for human interaction and expertise. If you have any additional questions about Social Security, consulting with a knowledgeable financial advisor is the best and most direct way to get the answers you need. Making the most of your financial situation and retirement income needs has never been more important. Try simplifying your retirement income options by using these tools. And make sure to get all the facts about Social Security before you begin receiving your benefits. Be sure to log on to our website and watch the newest video in our Truth About series. It's entitled, The Truth About Average Stock Market Returns. You know, stockbrokers like to tout that the stock market has averaged over 11% per year over the long run. Well, is this true or simply hype? Find out in our latest CBTV Truth About video series. And finally, remember that only you can control your financial future. You can succeed. You just need confidence and determination. I'm Matthew J. Reddick from Checks and Balances TV. Until next week, dump debt, invest wisely, believe in yourself, and make it happen.